Andrew Frey, principal at Tecela. Well, the goal was always to become a real estate developer. I was interested in the built environment in college. After college, was an urban planner. Decided to approach buildings and development from the legal perspective, so I went to law school, worked as a zoning lawyer for 6 years, until I felt I had learned enough to be dangerous, and decided to try to get in on the business side of real estate development. As a kid, building with Legos, drawing, and college, had an advisor freshman year who his name's Pat Byrne, and he asked me what's the kinds of things I was interested in, and I said one of the things was architecture and design and buildings, and he said, well, you seem like a little bit bigger picture person than one building at a time. Why don't you look at urban planning? Okay. So he encouraged me to look at urban planning as a field and something to pursue. Being a zoning lawyer, I learned a lot about certain portions of the development process, but I didn't know the full spectrum. And working for CC Residential allowed me to learn the full spectrum of the real estate development process from my boss, Andy Burnham, who is an extremely talented real estate developer. And the way he structured the company, there were no handoffs. So the development manager saw a project from raw land through fully completed rental apartment complex. And so for my personal career, that's how I was able to learn enough to go out on my own. Okay. And in terms of how the large suburban development versus smaller urban development fits in the future of the city, I think there are fewer and fewer large suburban parcels that are available for development. And so long-term, just not sure how much opportunity there will be there. And then on a public policy standpoint, I think smaller scale urban development is better for our environment, better for our social and economic opportunities, convenience, community, a lot of other benefits. Miami is still a car town. It's designed for cars, and people need a car to do most of the things that they need to do in Miami. So that's true. On the other hand, there are people that are willing to take a chance on a reduced car lifestyle, and there is a demonstrated market for that. You have buildings like Loft 1, Loft 2, My Brickell, and Centro, sort of proving out that market. And I'm only looking for 8 households that want to live that reduced car lifestyle. So it's not for everybody, but it's a choice that I'm happy to provide. And I think is the right thing to do for the environment and for our kids and grandkids, because if we don't take baby steps in that direction, we'll just keep emitting greenhouse gases and degrading our environment. I think Uber, self-driving cars, other mobility technologies will dramatically change the way we build cities. Number one, because we won't need massive parking garages in every building. We'll probably need a few parking garages for car storage, but if you look at downtown Miami and the Brickell area, imagine that with no parking garages, the design changes dramatically. Probably would also have an impact on how wide our roads are and how wide our sidewalks are by comparison. So a couple examples. Okay. I think a big problem in Miami and Miami-Dade County is housing affordability. And so the number one way to address that is with supply and density. And so I think that there needs to be a big push at all levels of government to figure out how to increase housing supply, but in a way that leads to better communities and less pressure on rural lands to be developed. How can we provide housing supply, but in a dense and compact, convenient fashion that promotes transit use and reduces cost of living? So one way to make housing more affordable is through the reduction of parking. The cost of building parking structures is very high. I estimate that it adds about $330 to rent every month to get a return on cost for the parking. There are 1.5 parking spaces per unit. And the bigger picture is that housing supply itself reduces housing costs purely by the law of supplies and demand. The more supply you have of something, the less it costs. So we have massive restrictions on urban housing supply in city of Miami and Miami-Dade County and other cities, and that is driving up our housing costs. Developers can't supply housing because the zoning restricts the number of units that they can build. And in the zoning categories that work properly, the high-rise condo zoning, it's mostly waterfront land with a very high cost, largely due to massive parking garages. And so that housing, when it's built, has to be sold at a luxury price.